Are you ready to learn to get rid of stress in your life? To learn how to deal with the emotional turmoil that causes strokes, heart attacks, bad health, and even weight gain? Life-changing habits for work, family, and everyone you deal with start here with Andrew Wittman. It's time to get warrior tough. Here's Andrew Wittman and Dutch Coleman.
All right, it's time to get warrior tough, the most monumental hour in media anywhere. We're your leadership and mental toughness coaches, Andrew Wittman and the Dutch Coleman.
What's happening, everybody?
Oh, look at this. We are live in the studio together in South Carolina. I'll tell you what, I'm so pumped up, dude, that you and I are sitting together in the studio. I think this is the first time ever that we've been in the studio together.
Absolutely, and it took a lot of effort. We moved a few mountains, but we got it done.
You did most of the moving of the mountains. I was just sitting here waiting for the mountain to come to me. That's kind of what happened, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, Dutch made the long road trip down from State College because we're going to be on the podium together. We got some training to do in Atlanta tomorrow, teaching leadership. We're very excited about that.
Absolutely. The beginning of some great things with this particular organization. We're looking forward to a long and lovely relationship.
Absolutely. I'm very excited. And this is really cool because, the more that, we do stuff down here, it makes you come down here. So when I have to do stuff like up in Philadelphia and up in D.C., I have to go up to your end.
Right.
So I like it when you have to come down here.
Well, it's more familiar grounds down here for me than it is for you up there. So when I come down here, I can kill a couple birds with that one stone, and you largely have to go up there and turn around and beat your feet, get right back.
Yeah,
so.
That's usually what happens. So, and we're glad to have you back. Now, I know it's football season's about to start, and maybe you'll get a sneak peek at the Clemson Tigers, maybe?
Absolutely. I'll be going to practice on Friday and probably Saturday morning for the scrimmage they'll be having. So I will get a sneak peek at the 2016 version of the Clemson Tigers.
That's very exciting. All right, so hey, guys, if you want to get in on the conversation, use the hashtag #GetWarriorTough on the Twitter. You can find Dutch at @TheDutchColeman. I'm at WarriorToughPhD. You can go to the website, GetWarriorTough.com. Download the app so you can have, you can listen to us on the app. Now, this is cool because now we're on our own network live, right? So we're making steps, we're making progress. We've had the network, we've had the app, but now we're going live on our own network because we have the technology in place to do it, and I'm very excited to bring everything in-house, Dutch.
Absolutely. It's part of our growth. We're doing bigger and better things each and every day. We're being blessed moving forward, moving onward and upward, and it's exciting to see the progression. I mean, again, when you look at the studio now, we're able to do a lot more, able to control a lot more of the content, the timing, the advertising. So any potential advertisers out there, right, reach out to us. We'll do a good job for you. But we're able to control a lot of those things in this maturation process from a media standpoint.
Absolutely, and that's part of what part of our partnership, Dutch, and a lot of people, they know that we do the training and stuff, but a big part of our partnership, it started with Get Warrior Tough Media, and that's, doing the show and putting out, books and printed material and the audio. Now, we were in the studio. I said we weren't in the studio together before. That really wasn't true because we did a lot of recording of the gladiator training in this studio.
Absolutely.
When my wife was feeding you giant plates of cookies.
But it wasn't the as you kind of were speaking of, it wasn't the actual radio show that we did in the studio. So you were half and half.
Yeah. So, but I'm really excited. So so tonight, what we want to let's go to GetWarriorTough.com, get the radio app, right, and then you can listen to us 24/7 because all of our shows are up there playing constantly. And then Wednesday nights, live at 9, and then this show will replay again tomorrow at 8 on our network. And then you could share it with your friends. It's easy to find us that way. It's just easier to find us. You don't have to hunt for us.
And our shows are timeless. We're talking about topics that will never go away, topics that will never be irrelevant. So I encourage you to go back and give a listen no matter what time of day it is. Click onto the app, and you will have something to kind of whet your appetite in terms of leadership.
Oh, absolutely. Now, if you're a parent or one day you will have kids or you're a grandparent and you got grandkids, you want to tune in. If you have friends that are parents that are raising kids or grandparents that are raising grandkids, whatever, you get them to tune in right now because what tonight we're going to talk about is how low can you go? And tell me a little bit about that, Dutch, because this was your topic, and you have run across it a couple times in the past couple months, and it's really been on your heart to talk about this. So how low can you go?
We're just a play on words for the age. How young can you be to begin discussing the topics that we discuss? Now, we know that we generally train adults, we generally train professionals, we train very accomplished individuals.
Right.
Now, we know that there is a place in our space for the young at heart and for the young at age. We actually are in the midst of developing a program. We got some bites on training high school kids in a similar way to what we do now, but we will speak to them when we're doing, as opposed to speaking to seasoned professionals. So there's a way to do that.
Right, and we package it a little different, but the product is still the science of how the human machine works, how to critically think, how emotional intelligence works, how the whole thing, being intentional, setting a target.
Absolutely. We don't have to change anything, any principles or anything like that. All that's going to apply. I spoke at a middle school graduation, and I spoke in general on some of the principles that we teach on, and the kids got it. They loved it. The parents absolutely loved it. So, things like that made me ask myself the question, how low can you go? How soon? I have a 12-year-old, a 6, 5, and 4-year-old, and I already speak these principles to them, and they get it for the most part. So,
right.
From a formal standpoint, the way we teach, the way we train, how low can we go? And we're gonna discuss that today.
Yeah, we absolutely are. And so, here's the jumping off point. So, if you have kids, you have nieces, nephews, grandkids, or whatever. We're looking at I'm pulling all this out of an article in the Wall Street Journal because it's by Jennifer Wallace, and she wrote the article based on like kids' popularity, what makes the kids popular. But in the article is the scientific research that speaks directly to how low you can go and what is it that you should be training these kids at what age in order to be successful.
Now, we must mention one thing.
Yeah.
On one of our coaching calls this week, we actually had a brief discussion where one of the questions was, how do you do this? How do you introduce this to your kids and to your family? And we said, just have the conversation.
Right, that's the starting point.
That's the starting point, having the conversation. And I wanted to say that leading into the next bits of information because this isn't difficult. Even the stuff that Andrew's about to preview and introduce you to, it begins with a conversation in your home. This is going to give you some guidance. This is going to give you some good points to ponder things you probably never heard of or even thought of, but it begins with a conversation.
Right, and I've been in your home, you've been in my home. My kids are older than yours now, but we both have taken them from a very young age and trained them in the way that we believe they should go to be successful, to set them up for success. And I noticed that neither you nor we don't talk down to our kids. We don't talk to them like they're babies.
Absolutely not.
We speak up. We speak to them like they're highly intelligent, and we talk to them like they're, I don't want to say like they're adults, but we do speak on that level. We don't do baby talk. We don't be like, we just lay it out there for them. Now we use language or words that they can get. I don't use my PhD vocabulary when I'm talking to them, but we don't speak down to them either, like they don't get it.
We don't lower the standards. I don't let my children use excuses, and I speak to them about what excuses are. The same way in the workplace, in a professional environment, you're not going to be able to bring excuses to the table. You're going to get shot down. You're going to get kicked out of there. So the same thing with my, especially with my oldest daughter, when she brings me excuses, I explain to her why that's an excuse, what would have been a better approach, what would have been a more appropriate answer for the situation, and I try to get her to think that way before she says something. So, because a lot of times before you make excuses, there's an absolute talking point to that. You can think about what happened. You can discover, after thinking about it, you discover some alternative speak that you could have done to that instead of making excuses.
Right now, and this is what you said about having the conversation. This is what we talked in the coaching call. Having the conversation doesn't mean that you go, don't come in here with those excuses. That's not a conversation. That's you yelling, right? Or barking and shutting down conversation when you get all emotional and you think, that's not helping. That's not the conversation.
Right. Conversation
is, like you just said, we explain, hey, that's an excuse. What would be a better way? Asking the questions. What do you think would be a better way to handle? Would you do anything different?
Absolutely. And it's not as difficult. Now, Andrew brought up a great point. We don't need the emotions because you're teaching. And we all are guilty of that sometimes, especially when we get upset, but you got to bring it back around. So as you're learning this skill, you got to learn how to bring it back around. And that's the most important thing, because they have to get something out of it, or you're going to continue to get the same excuses all the time. And just recently I dealt with this with my oldest daughter, as I said, and we walked through the process that if she had explained what happened and how it happened, it is what it is. I mean, there's sometimes you can't change things. And if you explain what happened, simply what happened, and then you take what happened and you try to maximize your results. Like, you can actually look at it. And this is easy even with a 12-year-old. You walk them down that path. You don't have to give them the answers, but you can give them some sort of leading questions and walk them down a path that's going to help them. And then after you do that a couple times, maybe 3 times, they're going to begin to start thinking like that. They're going to walk themselves down that
right.
path.
They get the formula of the process.
Absolutely.
But you as an adult, you better have one if you want to get them to repeat the process. Well, the problem is most adults, it's just a jungle up here. Their thoughts are just a jungle. Their emotions are running wild. And so that's why this psychologist, Richard Rendy, he's a developmental psychologist, and he's the author of Raising Can-Do Kids, which, I love because Americans, not Americans, right? He says this, that social skills are critical, and they're crucial. And he says that simply knowing how to play well in the sandbox with others is the number one predictor of professional success and the development of strong, meaningful relationships throughout one's life.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about the playground or the sandbox reference. A lot of times at younger ages, and I try to explain this to my 12-year-old when my 6, 5, and 4-year-old playing together, there's going to be conflict. There are going to be 6, 5, and 4-year-old conflicts, though, and that is not going to be anything that's going to destroy the universe. But in their world,
right, it's huge.
Yeah, in their world, it's huge. And what I try to teach them and what you try to observe is how they deal with it. And a lot of times you want them to be empathetic towards what's going on with the other child. So when you have kids that play well in the sandbox, it's because they have considered the other child. Like, they've considered what happened to the other child, and they kind of back off and go, okay, yes, I'll relent, I'll give in some, I'll compromise,
right.
And so that's a beautiful thing. So I try to get my oldest to allow them to go through the process, let them figure it out, observe them, and then if you feel like there's a little spot where you can get in to kind of nudge them, to guide them, that's all you want to do. You don't want to take over and lord over their experience.
Right. And then you want to not, and again, I saw a thing about helicopter parents. If you're always stepping in, they are not learning the skill. If you're handling all that and, you're keeping, Junior and Bobby or whatever happy and, we don't ever want them crying and we don't ever want them to, have to walk through a conflict, then they never will learn how to do it and manage their emotions.
And that's a fact.
No, it is. Exactly. The research backs it up, which we're going to kind of go over here in a little bit. I'll give you the numbers. We're coming up on a break, and when we get back, then we'll really hit the numbers of this. But this whole study was based on the predicate, or the question is, what really makes one classmate more popular than another? And then it breaks down. There's really 2 kinds of popularity. There's the perceived popular kid, where they're popular, but nobody likes them.
Right.
They're like tyrants. Right, so and that's not, and then there's the popular ones that are credible people that are of good character, and they're people that you want to be around and people that you want in your life. There's that kind of popular. Which one do you want your kid to be?
I want to be the second, the latter.
Exactly, me too. All right, listen, you're listening to the Get Warrior Tough radio show with Dutch and Andrew. We'll be right back after this.